Hello everyone, in this video I will be discussing about A-Rank Leviathan, specifically her skill, Aether code and how to play her. Please note that this video will not be discussing her sigil as I do not have the resource or need to build her. I will be completing the tutorial first, that way I'll be able to freely demonstrate the points that I'm trying to make. The way I learned how to use character in this game is through dimensional variable. By clearing the mode with just one character, I get a better understanding about their strengths and weaknesses. For her basic attack, she has 4 attack sequences. The issue I have with her basic is that during the last sequence where she jumps and hits the ground, the attack animation takes about a second to complete. Oftentimes I get hit during it. I recommend to cancel attack by moving for a second or dodging before you use basic attack again. When using her first skill, she will launch herself forward by a bit and swing her hammer before following up with a kick. There have been a few cases where I would get injured during the animation before the kick, so if I'm about to get hit I would dodge after she swings her hammer. Her second skill has 2 types, tap and hold. If you tap, she will charge for a second and launch herself forward, landing 2 hits. Please note that the bar will appear even if you just tap it. When reviewing footage, I thought I made a mistake and hold it, but when I did it off screen, the bar still appeared. When you hold her second skill, the longer you hold it, the more damage she will do. Let go of it when the bar disappears. It takes about 2 seconds to fully charge the bar and another second as she launches herself forward during the attack animation. Aside from the ultimate, this has the highest damage multiplier and it can hit multiple enemies at once. For her third skill, she applies freeze to enemy. The length of the skill is good, however the width is bad. For example, if you have 3 enemies standing next to one another, and you lock on to the enemy in the middle, only the middle will get frozen. There were a few cases where you can freeze 2 enemies that are next to each other, however they were quite rare. In order to effectively use this skill, you have to move around and line up as much enemy as you can. Another problem with it is the 1 second skill animation. It takes 0.5 to cast and release the attack, and another 0.5 as you flip back. You cannot dodge cancel her skill 3 during cast time or as you flip backwards, and there is no iframe. After you cast the third skill, tap the second skill, and in terms of attack animation, it will travel as much as you holding the second skill. Note you cannot hold second skill after using third skill. As for her ultimate, she will jump towards the enemy, making a good AoE range. The distance she jumps is quite wide. Be sure to select an enemy in the center of a mob, otherwise you will waste the ultimate and only hit one person if you lock onto an enemy that is far from the mob. Now I will be going against the first boss of DV to illustrate some of the problems she has. I would like to take this time to discuss about the issues regarding her second skill. Due to the long cast time, you have to dodge 2 to 3 times to create distance with the enemy before you can use this skill. Otherwise they will damage and/or interrupt your casting. Due to her launch attack having a good cover distance, you don't have to worry about it not hitting opponents. If you think the enemy is too far away, just continue to hold it. I like to note that as she carries out her launch attack, you don't get invincibility frames. Enemies can still damage you as you carry out the attack animation, which is another downside to offer. Second, to maximize the damage, you have to crowd control them so they are grouped together, either through hitting them so that they are near other mobs or dodge past them and make the bots stack with one another. The third issue is certain enemies like the ninja mobs make this 2 strategy impossible or near impossible, as their movement isn't directly attacking you from the front but side or back, making it impossible to even cast tap skill 2. Near the end of the video, I'll show you an example of how difficult it is to use skill 2 against the ninjas. For her Aether code, I can't give a definitive answer on what to choose since I tested her in Dimensional Variable, which is filled with buff from Sigil, Memory Treasure, double Aether codes and functors, making the result not reflective of her capabilities in most other contents. However, if I had to choose, I would pick Blue Line. The reason being, Blue Note gives you a 15% attack increase after using any skill, guarantee a crit hit when you fully charge your second skill, and increase your crit damage by 60% for 6 seconds after you freeze an enemy. Please take my choice with a huge grain of salt, as I have not tested out which of the 3 deals more damage and merely assume Blue Line will be more beneficial than the other 2 simply based on the limited practical application I have experienced. The reason why I don't choose Yellow Line is because as of yet, there is no content that requires a crowd control resistant remover. The second node of the yellow one gives traces, which is useful but only after her last basic hit an opponent, which makes it difficult to trigger without taking damage or having a character like Poseidon to help keep enemy in place. The reason why I don't choose Red Line is because it's hard to keep the second node up with her considering her long skill animation, and the third node does boost her damage, but again you need someone to crowd control the enemy or else the enemy will slowly chip away at your health as you attempt to use the second skill. I like to mention that her dodge effect boosts her ice damage by 100% for next hit. I've tested it out and it does double her damage for basic, skill and ultimate. But aside from boosting her damage, she doesn't have 2 consecutive dodge like a few other characters, and more importantly she doesn't trigger 0 time, which slows down the enemy significantly. Not being able to trigger 0 times makes it hard for her to use her second skill, as you can see from my second attempt in fighting with the boss. After I lower the boss health by 2.5, I struggle to use my second skill on him as I have to constantly dodge his artillery attack and reposition myself just to hit him with basic and skill 1. At times when he does a circle AoE attack, I have to quickly leave the circle earlier than other characters who can either dash through him with skill 1 like Sukui, Yomi or Shinku and dodge out of the circle, or characters who can trigger 0 time and walk away from the circle. For her team composition, I recommend teaming her up with someone who can crowd control multiple enemies, as it will bring out the maximum damage potential for Leviathan. As it is still early in the game, the only character that can bring out the most of her is S-rank Poseidon. For third slot, either bring another DPS that rely on Poseidon CC or A-rank Poseidon. I don't know how the AI controls her, so I would recommend you test her out and see how they perform. If they aren't doing well, then just manually control her. Assuming you paired her with S Poseidon, get close to the enemies as S Poseidon will freeze all of them as soon as the game starts. Then charge up your skill 2. Afterwards hit the enemy with skill 1 and basic. Try to bundle them up together. Accumulate traces by using skill 1 or skill 2. If the enemy is targeting your AI, or you have the opportunity to create some distance and charge up your second skill. Then use skill 3 once you have all 3 traces and rinse and repeat. If your ulti is up, Make sure to get the dodge effect damage buff before you AD. Currently there aren't that many functors, and I don't know if the game will be adding more functors that everyone from the same class can use. The signature functor in GV does a lot of damage, but again there are too many buffs in GV, so the damage isn't reflective for other content. The 5-star functor for Asterism will boost her ulti by 24%, but since her ulti multiplier is more than her second skill, and considering it's a 5-star, unless you plan to main her, I don't recommend using it. For 4-star, get the one for shield, for survival, or multiplier for damage. Honestly, you can skip the 4-star functors as well, since neither of them benefits her greatly. As you may have noticed, this is my first ever guide video. I honestly would like to make more of these skill guides for all the different characters in Aether Gazer, but if only a handful of people watch and subscribe to these videos, I won't bother making them as they take too much time. Thank you for watching and sorry for the terrible quality video.